What is going on, Degen Nation? Ken and Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the PGA Championship. As usual, I'm here with everybody's favorite South African, Byron Lindeque. Byron, what is up, my friend?
Kenny, we are dressed to the reds here. I don't know what that means, but I should have rocked the stash with you. You're looking frisky. Is that the fireman stash? Is that what you're trying to get?
I'm trying to be like Johnson Wagner. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be like John. You know what Johnson Wagner reminds me of? I just watched Moulin Rouge the other day. He reminds me of Ziegler, right? He just comes up with like the right excuses for like the right explanation for like every single thing that is happening, even though you might not believe it. Right? I mean, I don't know if you've seen Moulin Rouge before, but Ziegler, he could bullshit with the best of them. And I feel like Johnson can too. Actually, he is a Virginia Tech alum. I went to school with him, same year as I did. I think he was there from like 98 to 2002. I was there to 2004 because it took me 6 years to graduate. But before we move on, of course, our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Mayo, get yourself a deposit bonus up to $250. Go check it out. We'll have our Underdog segment here later today. Of course, Byron kept the underdog streak alive last week. Okay, with the winner, I failed. The weather got me on that one. That course did not play like I thought for round one. I can definitely tell you that with those greens and how hard that course played. But great win by Byron. He came up clutch. Hopefully this week we'll have some more bets. We'll have some more underdog stuff for you so we can come back and get a win when it comes down to that. So let's talk about the last week in the Wells Fargo Championship. Of course, I did hit Rory at 9-1. It was on the pod. Once again, so I didn't have a total loss of a week. Last 8 weeks, that's my fourth outright win. I've had 10 each way wins in those 8 weeks as well. So we're running hot in multiple fronts right now. We're going to go ahead and see if we can keep this going through the PGA Championship. I'll let you go ahead and start, Byron. What did you think of the event?
It was deja vu. It was just switch out Wyndham Clark for Rory McIlroy. I mean, you could see it coming. The moment Xander hit that eject button, everyone's saying Rory played so well and Xander could do nothing about it. I disagree. Like, you got to put your stamp. You got to assert your dominance on the other guy to make him not go on an eagle run, on a birdie eagle run. Like, you got to be the demeaning, the domineering guy. You can't let...
It sounds like you had X over Rory, is what it sounds like.
Kenny, I had a matchup. Xander Schauffele over Rory McIlroy. The only person that beat my guy was the only person I matched him up against. And, this is the choice.
Bitter.
So, a little bit bitter. Should never have been surprised. I expected Rory to potentially not be inside the top 10 with Xander being there. I expected Rory to have a good high upside, like we saw. But I caught him on the wrong day. Caught Xander being a little baby back bitch again. He just can't figure his stuff out when it comes to clutching up, man. He's the second best.
He's just not a winner, right?
No.
I mean, Xander, since Xander won his last event in 2022, the Genesis Scottish Open, Rory's won 7 events worldwide.
Yeah.
I know people think Rory's not a winner either, but he's won 7 events worldwide since Xander's last win.
I've been trying to find, Kenny, a Photoshop of where I take Xander Schauffele that's like in a flat situation like this and just turn him into a bunch of stairs. Just let the people walk all over him to the upper stratosphere of the golfing world. Just step on my face while you're at it. Like, that's what he's letting people do. It's good golfers, PGA major championship caliber golfers that are doing this to him. But you're the second. If you take strokes gained the last 100 rounds, the only person who's gained more strokes than you is Scotty Scheffler, Xander. And you've got no wins to show for it. Zero. Yeah. You haven't looked serious about winning a single tournament since. Like, where is this? Like, where's the love? Cash the top 10. Whoop-de freaking do. I lost all that money back on the Rory bet. So it was brutal stuff for me, Kenny. I did not enjoy my week. Wyndham and Willie Z never showed up. Where the hell were they? But, a nice little primer for the PGA Championship. What did you think of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly because, of course, I had Rory. And Rory was my main bet of the week. Didn't fare that well in DFS, but made up for it in with the outright bet, which was nice. I thought I liked the way the course was set up. Really, really a big fan. I mean, I think that's the way a true PGA course should be set up. Like, if you're playing well, you're going to score. If you're playing shitty, you're going to fucking suck. Basically, I mean, it went from like 14 over par to 20 under par, right? Isn't that the scoring difference right there? And that's the way I think it should be. If you're not playing well and you're playing a tough-ass course, you should just shit the bed and do what these guys did. I know Fitzpatrick didn't play well. He came back a little bit at the end, but we're looking at like double-digit over par for that course. And, we might see something similar this week. I actually think it's possible that this week might be easier than what we saw at the Wells Fargo, just because of how the conditions it's going to be. I mean, they did have flood watch last week. They have a flood watch tomorrow. They're expecting hail. They're expecting rain Wednesday as well. They're expecting rain Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, the last time they played this event here, it was, again, super soft conditions. Once again, balls weren't rolling at all. It just literally hit the ground and plugged. And, of course, Rory dominated and won at -16. Back then, that was his shit, right? Those soft, long courses with high scoring, that's how he won. Really, like in his career, I think he's only won one event that he shot -12 or lower ever in his career. In his like 45 wins or whatever wins he has. And that's why I expect him to be in contention this week. Now, will I use him? We'll see. I don't know. Now, for me, the event, I thought the Koreans played well. Benny On really showing his shit. He's looking strong coming into here. Sungjae, I played him in GPPs. Not enough to win money, but I played him. He looked okay, at least for the majority. He fell back a little bit on Sunday. Other people that played well, I mean, Taylor Moore was up there before he fell off on the weekend. Pendrith, right? Pendrith was really, really caught my eye because what he did the week before, winning at an event where, of course, it's much easier, like super high scoring birdie fest, to go to a tougher course and still be able to perform and finish in the top 10. Now, the one thing that's similar between Craig Ranch and Wells Fargo, there's not much, but a lot of long iron play, right?
Yes.
And that's what he's been doing well. And guess what we see this week? A lot of long iron play. Now, if he just did his thing at the Craig Ranch, he probably wouldn't be catching my eye. But he played a tough course, played well, is riding momentum. I like the way he's playing. He looks good. So it's going to be a fun tournament because we got Rory coming in with 2 straight wins, Scheffler coming in with 2 straight wins, and of course Koepka coming in with the win at Singapore. Those 3 guys are the ones to watch, and it should be really, really fun. I expect these guys to come out and have a great week and make this an exciting event. Now, anything else you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how Rory, Scotty, and Brooks all have a total of 5 wins entering the week in their last 1.5 to 2 starts. That's just,
I know.
That's exciting. That's really going to be fun. It's going to be battle of the alpha males. Let's see what happens and go for it, Penny. It's PGA Championship week, man. I'm thrilled.
All right, before we move into the PGA Championship, of course, it's major week, so we're going to do a little story time with Kenny. We're going to do a story time with Kenny classic. All right, so the last time I told the story was Masters of 2022. So it's been over 2 years. I've gotten about 5,000 new followers in that time. I'm sure there's been a ton more people who just started listening to the show in that period of time. Maybe they haven't heard the Butterfish story. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the Butterfish story. All right, so it all starts out, I was seeing this girl. Third date, it was coming up. And now here's the thing, guys. When you're out with women, the first couple of dates, it's really, really important to listen to everything the woman says, because that's how you can go across and make it so you could smash on the third date. And that's usually what I try and do. So, after a couple of dates with this girl, we've gone out a couple of times. She tells me, she's a Navy brat. She lived on the water growing up. Her favorite vacation spot was in Hawaii. She loves seafood. So third date, I plan it. I'm not saying I'm going to take you out. I don't tell her we're going to take her. I'm going to take her to Baltimore Harbor. Water, harbor. We're going to Roy's, which is a Hawaiian seafood fusion restaurant, right? So everything I'm doing at that point is trying to, get in her pants. And
checking boxes, baby. Love it.
Yeah. And so you pay attention to the girl, listen to everything she says. Now, the problem with me is once I smash, I stop listening. That's why I'm single at 44 years old, right? Because once I smash, I stop listening. And that's definitely a problem that I've had that numerous girlfriends have told me that is my problem. But the initial time, the first couple of dates, I'm like a fucking reporter. I'm like taping the shit, like in my mind mentally, right? Just to make sure I get all the bit of information I need to get in them pants. So, third date. I take her, I pick her up. She lives in Maryland. I pick her up. We go to Roy's, right? And so another thing you do when you go out, when you're with a woman is, women like adventurous guys who like to try new things. A really good way to do that is trying different types of food that you're not normally comfortable with and have her knowing. So the server came up and the special that night was like a miso butterfish, right? I was like, oh, I'd never tried butterfish before. How does it taste? And he gave the example. I was like, that sounds great. I think that's what I'm going to get. Okay. And so I eat the butterfish meal. Delicious. I mean, that's the problem with this fish because it is so tasty, right? Super oily, just delicious fish. A char grill with the miso on top. I mean, it was great. It was about like a 9-ounce portion. Okay. So I eat this. We have a good time. We have a couple of drinks. We walk around the harbor afterwards. You know what I'm saying? A little make-out session while we walk. And then she's like, why don't we come back to my place? I'm like, yes. Gonna smash. Everything fucking worked. This is the way to fucking do it. Yes. So we get to her house. We get to her house and I'm on the couch and she's putting on a movie or some Netflix something, right? And I'm sitting on the couch and all of a sudden I feel something weird, like in my pants. I'm like, what is going on in my pants? And it's not like the good stuff that happens that can go on in your pants, right? Like the good stuff. It was not that. So I'm sitting there like, why is my butthole wet? Like my butthole was wet. And I was like, what is going on? And then after a certain amount of time, not only was the butthole wet, like my whole ass, both cheeks, like just wet, right? And I'm like sliding. She has like sort of like a pleather, like the couch that I'm sitting on, like this pleather, right? But it's like white pleather couch. So I'm sitting on her couch, right? And I'm literally like just sliding, like super soaker, like sliding because my butt cheeks and my butt and my pants are like, I don't know what's going on. So at that point in time, I realized I am not fucking tonight. It's not going to happen. And I tell her I'm not feeling well. I get up and I'm like, I have to go. And I'm like walking backwards, like moonwalking, like I'm fucking Michael Jackson to the goddamn door. So they didn't see my butt. But I look at the seat and it's like this green oil film, like all over the white pleather seat. And I'm looking at my producer, Mike, and Byron right now. I'm guessing they haven't heard this story before. This is by far one of my most famous stories. So that's good because their reactions right now are insane. And of course, I'm sure you people listening at home who have not heard this story, it's an insane story. So I get back to the car. Okay, so I'm able to leave, but I see this big green stain. I'm like, okay, I'm never going to call her again. I'm never going to fuck this girl, basically, is what happens. I'm like, it comes down to it. And of course, she never called me back. Okay, I would not have either. If a girl came over and left a shit stain in the middle of her goddamn couch, I'm not calling her ass back either. Unless she's super hot. Anyways. So I get to the car. I have to like put like a towel down like on my driver's seat. Luckily I had like a golf towel in the back. And I put it on the seat and I sit down and I start Googling. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I'm Googling the stuff I eat and I Google butterfish, right? And then they're like, and I'm reading like what happens and they're like, do not eat too much butterfish. I'm like, what the fuck? Why not? And they're like, but eating too much butterfish will cause anal leakage. Anal leakage. Like, first of all, why would you eat something that causes anal leakage? Why would any company or restaurant sell something that causes anal leakage? And I feel like the fucking server did that shit on purpose, right? Because like I feel like he knew like what the deal was. He knew I was on a date, right? And then he told the chef to get the biggest fucking piece of butterfish there is, because what it said was you should not eat more than like 4 to 6 ounces, right, of butterfish at a time. I ate it was like 9 to 10. The shit was fucking huge. It was like 9 to 10 ounces. And so basically that's what happened. Like, I guess because it's such an oily fish, all the oil just goes through your system and like runs out your butthole, and you don't even feel it come out the butthole. Like, it just comes out the butthole, and you're like, wait a second, why is my butthole wet? And so that is what happened. Of course, I never talked to the girl again. I feel really bad for her couch. My guess is she probably needed to buy a new couch. Probably. I mean, if someone shit on my couch, and it wasn't shit. Technically, it's not shit, even though it's coming out of my butt. It's oil. But whatever, it's coming out of your butt, right? It's coming out of your butt. So very, very similar. And so, of course, I'd make sure to not try. So if you ever have white tuna, that's another name for butterfish. White tuna, butterfish.
Oh my God.
Make sure you don't eat too much of that, or you will have anal leakage and you won't be able to fuck the girl you want to fuck. Basically, it's what happened. So that's my story, of course. Story time with Kenny, classic. One of the most embarrassing moments of my life. But it's a great story, right? You got to laugh at it. I mean, once you got to laugh. You got to laugh. So
the back of my head is so tight from laughing so hard. Like, it hurts so bad.
Here I am
right now.
Well, when people first heard that story, they were definitely in a little bit of shock.
Oh my God.
But yeah, anal leakage, no fun.
No fun.
Try to avoid anal leakage at all costs if you can. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on to our underdog fantasy segment. Great segue from anal leakage to underdog fantasy. Our sponsors got to be fucking proud of that one. Got to be. All right. So we're going to go to our underdog fantasy segment for this week. Last week, of course, Byron, he hit his to keep our streak going of at least one of us winning for each pod that we've done so far. And so the one I have this week, and it looks like the weather's going to be the nicest on Thursday. Looks like it's going to be calm. Looks like it's going to be soft conditions with all the rain that they're going to have Tuesday and Wednesday. Like, they're expecting like flood type rains Tuesday and Wednesday. And I don't know if there is sub air here. Now we are going to talk about this later, but they did add the zoysia grass in the fairways, which should help, because zoysia helps. It is a better type of grass when there's a lot of water. It actually takes 1 inch of water a week to keep it from browning out and stuff like that. So it needs a lot of water anyways. And so maybe the rain coming and stuff like that will actually be something that it needs. I'm sure they're not watering it daily manually. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to hope that, it keeps it so it's still going to be soft, but not as soft as we saw at 2014. But I would still give the advantage to Bombers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of guys, one guy that I think is going to score very, very well on the first round. It's Brooks Koepka, lower than 69 strokes. That means he's going to have to shoot 3 under par in the first day. And this is Brooksy. He's my headline bet. He's in my cash game cornerstones. He is going to be one of my highest owned in GPPs. I'm breaking my rule where I usually only go 20% on my cash game guys. In my personal ownership for GPPs, I'm throwing that out the window. He's probably going to be my highest owned in GPPs as well. We're just going all Koepka this week. And so lower than 69 strokes. Fitzpatrick. Now, I made this yesterday before he had a pretty good final round. But before his final round, God, he looked horrible. Like, something looks off with Matt Fitzpatrick. And so I'm going to go higher than 2.5 bogeys. I don't think that's I think that's a great number. 2.5, even if he plays well, I think he could still have 3 bogeys on a course this difficult. So I'm going to go higher than 2.5 bogeys, and I'm going Ricky Fowler higher than 3 bogeys. He did not look good last week. It looks like he's coming in with decent form, but I really want him to play well last week so I can use him, but it wasn't that great. Again, another guy who I think can shoot even par, 1 under, but still have 3 to 4 bogeys. So my card for the underdog, this one pays, what's the payout detail here? This one pays 6.25 for this 3-bagger. Once again, Brooks Koepka lower than 69 strokes. Matt Fitzpatrick higher than 2.5 bogeys or worse. Ricky Fowler higher than 3.0 bogeys or worse. What is your underdog play this week, my friend?
I love it, Kenny. And as before I mention mine, I want to mention that like last week I managed to get through because instead of going with a score, I went with a finite situation, right? Like if you go into these tough courses, trying to shoot under, like for Brooksy, I'd almost lean birdies because you can make those birdies and get to your 3 under that you need to, or 4 under.
Like 4.5 for him, or 5.5.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah. So then it doesn't check out because then you make 1 or 2 bogeys and that score doesn't cash, but your birdie prop still does. So this is kind of why I like kind of leaning into these things where one really bad shot doesn't mess up your prop, So I'll be doing fairways hit for all 3 of my guys, 2 highers, 2 lowers. From what I understand, this golf course can set up really nicely to these guys that can nuke it, and you can really start finding, these alleyways and corridors. And for Will Zalatoris, he's actually moved to be a rather accurate driver of the golf ball since his back injury. He doesn't hit it nearly as far, but he's hitting a lot more accurate. So higher than 8 fairways hit for Willie Z around this venue. I think we've got 14 options, so you can miss 6 fairways still and at least push. Then I'll go with Sahith Theegala over 7.5 fairways hit. By the way, folks, if you've just woken up from a coma, Sahith Theegala is almost as good a driver of the golf ball now as he's a putter. And you know how good
what happened to him on Sunday, though? Shit, what the fuck? It scares me.
We'll get to this here shortly. Cameron Smith, lower than 7.5 fairways hit. If there's anything I know about my boy, is he can't hit fairways. And 7.5, he's going to miss more than half his fairways, I'd imagine, at a venue like this, just trying to pound it out there. 7.5 fairways for Cam Smith is the under. So go lower than Cam Smith, 7.5 fairways, higher than 7.5 for Sahith Theegala, and higher than 8 for Will Zalatoris. 2 very accurate guys, and 1 guy that just throws the quackers off the tee box every time he tees it up. So that's my boy Cam. I love him, but he's not going to need a lot of fairways this week.
All right, that sounds good. Let's go pay some bills. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I personally like the Pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. Can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a Pick'em entry. Can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. Now, the reason I like the Pick'em games is because of these things called scorchers. There's these little chili peppers next to the golfers' names, and if you click on that, it adds to your multiplier, so you can win even more money. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant Pick'em special. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, so we're going to be doing a little bit new. We're changing up our format here a little bit, and we're moving our betting segment into the middle of the show. Just so we're going to have a bigger, more wider betting base on the show. We're going to try and bring more bets. Byron's going to do his thing with his Babbelas bets. He'll have my outright, his outright, and maybe some other bets from Byron during this segment each and every week. We have been hot. At least I have been hot here lately in the last 2 months, and I hopefully can keep on going. So let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and start with my card for this week. My card for this week, again, it's a major, a little bit overexposed, but that's how we roll. I'm actually trying to win 30 units this week instead of 20. So I can throw a little bit more in there when I do my bets. And of course, I've won so much in the last few weeks that I'm flush. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead. My headline bet's going to be Brooks Koepka 20-1. I got that after he won Singapore. I'm so confident in that bet that I did not take the each way, and I took the each way money and put it all on the outright. So normally I would bet 50 on him and then 50 on the each way. I did not do that. Just put $100 straight on Brooks for the win at 20-1. Now these next 2, I sort of made a mistake. I thought both of these guys might be able to have their odds would lower after good performances at the Wells Fargo. Now, the first one, Max Homa, he finished inside the top 10. You can get him now at like 30, 35 to 1, even with 8 places. I got him at 22 because I thought his number was going to go down. So I made the bet early in the week last week before the Wells Fargo started. So mistake, but good for you because you're going to get a better number if you want to tail me. I think he's ready. He's shown in his last 2 major performances with a couple of top 10s, a third place, I think a third or fourth place finish at the Masters. It seems like he's ready to do some damage at a major. So I like him at 22 to 1 with 8 places. Another mess up I had, Wyndham Clark. Again, another guy I thought that was going to do well last week. I got him at 28 to 1 with 8 places. Oh, I'm sorry, 25 to 1 with 8 places. Again, you can get him at 40 right now. And I think that number might even drift even more just because, of his poor performance last week. But I am not going to worry about one bad week for a guy who's been balling in these signature type of events. And the one thing about this course, if you listen to Pat Mayo's show earlier today, if you listen to Andy Lack's show earlier, they both talk about how guys who play a slice, a cut, might have a little bit of an advantage just because of the way the course is shaped. Of course, we all know that Wyndham plays that heavy cut off the tee, and it could be to his advantage. And, of course, he's long off the tee, and his iron play has been good. I'm not too worried about last week. I think he can come back, step up, perform, and maybe even be, overlooked a little bit because of what happened. I also bet Bryson DeChambeau at 28 to 1 with 8 places. Again, I'm heavy on bombers this week. I like guys who can hit it far. He's another guy. If you look at the rankings for like long courses with thick rough, he's up there in the top 10 when it comes to that type of stuff. I really do like Bryson. And then I have a little overexposed in the 20s, right? Then I have Sahith at 60 to 1 with 8 places. Again, a great driver of the ball. He's coming in. He had a lot of strong finishes this year in difficult courses. And I'm going Bhatia at 90 to 1 with 8 places. He won either a junior or an amateur event at Valhalla in his youth. He has played here before, won championships here before. He should be nice and comfortable at this course. We've seen someone be comfortable doing well recently with Fitzpatrick. When he won his U.S. Open on a course where he loves and he gets to vacation at often with his family or whatever, and he went out there and took it down. So I'm going with that. So that's going to be my betting card for the week. Byron, let's go with some of your bets for the week.
Kenny, I'm going to be just reciting a lot of the stuff that you said. So just before I do that, I want to mention, just since 2012 in PGA Championships, in 2011, a debutant won the PGA Championship. Since then, I'm just going to rattle off the best finishes in a major prior to the person winning that PGA Championship since 2012. First, second, 7th, 9th, first, 35th, first. You have to, for the most part, have played well in majors, particularly a second place finish for me to find yourself on my betting card going into these major championships. US Open, it changes up a little bit. It's a little more lenient, it's a bit more of a bigger shot pattern over there. So, who checks that boxes? Oh, well, Brooks Koepka just shows up since 2017 with 8 top 2s. 4 wins, 4 seconds. That's where we're going with him. We like Bryson, 33 to 1. So I got Brooksy at 16. That's out at BetMGM. I found that this morning. I cashed out my 14 and went to the 16. So that gives me a bit of play to go with this 100 to 1 bet somewhere maybe. Bryson, we know he's won a US Open of this stature. Why? Bomb it, gouge it out, make the putts, get it going. That's what Bryson does. I love that philosophy there, Kenny. We check the box for a win. We check the box for bomber. Wyndham Clark, 40 to 1. I grabbed the 40 this morning. Love it. Bomber, major winner. Playing great golf right now. And then Sahith, I've got him at 75. He's the only guy that doesn't have a second place, but he does have that T9 at the Masters last year. So he does have a top 10 in a major. So that's good to see. Pat forced me into it a little bit. I'll be honest with you on the play-by-player show there, but We dived in at a 75 afterwards. It's the only rule I kind of broke for not having a top 2 in a major. But at 75-1, I would lose my mind if Sahith Theegala won the PGA Championship and I never cashed. So that's my betting card is pretty much the same as Kenny's. I just have everyone that you have.
Yeah, that is fun.
Minus.
We're either going to be very happy or we're going to be very, very sad.
The heater will continue, Kenny, and I want to get on the heater with you. So that's good to know. I'm glad I'm all aboard that. Let me toss out my Babbelas bets. I've got a trio of Tokolosh demons. So I'll give you a little quick story time with
the hell. Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell, the Tokolosh?
A Tokolosh back home in South Africa. So this is like the South African segment of the show, right? It's like we're going to chat about the Babbelas bets. So for those of you new, Babbelas is a hangover. So if you're looking to get yourself on the straight and narrow after a rough week, here's some bets I can give you to get on that. So I'm going to go with 3 guys, and the reason I'm calling them the Tokolosh bets is because in South Africa, the Tokolosh is like the demon, the devil. Like all my domestic workers that have worked for me, every time I've got into their room, their beds are on bricks because they believe the Tokolosh can't get onto their bed if they've got their bed on bricks. It's like the Zulu cursed, like demon devil, like myth, So the Tokolosh, like if you're really looking to mess with your domestic worker that has lived with us forever, you say, Sally, the Tokolosh is coming for you. If you, like they are scared of the Tokolosh, boy. So I got the odds for my 3 top 40 bets at 666. So that's why I'm calling these the Tokolosh trio. It's since
Number
changed,
of the beast.
Number of the beast, baby.
Iron Maiden. You gotta love the Iron Maiden. Funny thing, the first time I heard that song was in Guitar Hero.
Ooh.
That's why I used to play a lot of Guitar Hero back in the day in my 20s. Now I don't, because the only way I could play it back then was when I was jacked up off my fucking mind. So, of course, that was my 20s, basically, when it comes down to it. And so that was the only way I could get the fingering down in Guitar Hero. So I just did a fucking gagger. Went ahead and did it. But so I don't play Guitar Hero anymore.
That doesn't surprise me. What one little bit, the fingers must have been working overtime back in your 20s. On multiple counts. So
That's
I can
true.
see, you're just really thriving there. So my first bet, is going to be these 3 guys for top 40s. They are ridiculous in the top 40 market in majors. And I'll start off with 2 very popular guys. Will Zalatoris has finished basically inside the top 40 in 7 of his last 10 majors. This guy's a major beast. His second strokes gained in majors, behind Scotty. Xander Schauffele. This dude rattles off top 40s like crazy. I'd bet top 20s on both these guys, but I really like the top 40 of the guy I'm going to get to here. So these guys are minus 130 for Willie Z, minus 320 for Xander, but we're going to go Patrick Rogers at plus 230 for a top 40 in a major. He's done
explain that one to me.
Yeah, he's done it 4 of the last 5 times. He's only played in US Opens and
Really?
PGA Championships. He's missed 1 cut, and I think his worst finish outside of that has been like a 47th. Like 6 of his last 7 have been 47th or better. He's got 2 outside the top 40. 4 of his last 5 have been top 40 finishes. 29th to 31st, right in that range. Plus 230 at a track, Kenny, a bomber's narrative, right? What does Patrick Rogers do? Nukes it off the tee. So he's only played in PGA Championships and US Opens. He's played pretty nicely inside the top 40 there in the last 4 of the last 5. So I really like that as as the core of my play. And then just take those 2 top 40 perennial guys in the majors and just juice it up to the Tokolosh trio.
I might steal that from you because I got to be on a show tomorrow morning for BetQL, and they always ask me for weird top 40 bets, and I never know what to do. So I'm going to steal that from you, Byron.
Let's go, Ken, because, the Rogers bet at plus 230, I mean, this guy, he's been playing nicely as well this year, so it's not like he's playing poor heading into the week. We're going to catch some really good stuff from him, and hopefully that can kind of keep rolling through. So I'm a big believer in those bets. I'm having a nightmare trying to find my actual sheet that I have for all my other stuff that's right over here. So give me 2 seconds.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we're going to be adding a little bit more to this betting segment every week in and week out. We're going to be doing our thing. We're going to be pushing more bets, pushing more underdog. That's something that we are definitely going to try and do and try and adjust when it comes to the podcast. Because in my opinion, I think it's just easier than DFS. We're still going to be doing our DFS thing, right? We're not going to be changing that. But we're going to be focusing a little bit more on bets and a little bit more on underdog. Do you have your card now?
I do have my card now, and I'm not entirely sure where these numbers go. Obviously, they are likely to change, but Rory McIlroy, top 10 in a major at plus 110. I grabbed that last night on my research stream. Did a 4-hour, 10-minute research stream last night, by the way. Go check that out on Back 9 Bets. Covered pretty much everyone that we're speaking about at above 9,000. So Rory, top 10 in majors. He's done it 50% of the time. He's done it 56% of the time in the last 12 months on PGA Tour tournaments. So give me that at plus money in a major at a Bombers track. Go. Xander Schauffele, we got plus 240 for a top 10 in a major. So grab a Xander Schauffele top 10. This guy's been doing it at a ridiculous clip so far this year. Now we go to majors where Xander Schauffele's just been crushing. He's 74% top 10 major T10 rate for Xander Schauffele, folks. Like, that is incredible. So that's an awesome edge over there. Then Brooks Koepka, top 5. Kenny, I'm going to lean in on you there. I bet this guy to win the tournament. We're going to go plus 333 for a top 5. Brooks has got 8 top 2s in his most recent starts since 2017. Love that. Very random bet going on here. Colin Morikawa, plus 320. This dude in majors. Just
for what?
Nuts.
Top 10?
Top 10. Yeah.
Top 10.
Yep. Colin Morikawa in majors so far. Plus 320 for a major top 10. He's doing it 53% of the time in majors. He just nuts up in these majors. And I know this course might be a little too long for him, but top 10, you can still get Colin sneaking in there. You know, he's been dialing it in like crazy. Wyndham Clark, I think you really want to go to him for the top 5 market. I think that's plus 900 out there for a top 5, right? That's what Wyndham Clark does. In his last few starts on the PGA Tour, 32% of his starts have been top 5s. 32% of his starts have been top 10s. So if you're betting Wyndham Clark for a top 10, you might as well just bet him top 5 because every time he's inside the top 10, he's inside the top 5. So we love that for a Wyndham Clark bet. The Will Zalatoris, top 10, plus 375 as well. I know I've got a lot of top 10 guys here because I did a lot of these last night when that market was only out there. But these numbers are really, really big on guys that are really, really good at finishing inside the top 10. And then my final bet is going to be Cameron Young, top 10, plus 425. This dude in majors, 45% of the time is inside the top 10 at a Bomber's Paradise. I mean, what are we... The implied odds of 425 is 19%. He's doing it 45% of the time in majors. You know, like that number seems... These are all just really fancy numbers. So love these for top 10s, top 5s. I'll be throwing out my Breaking 100 article out later. That'll have some more top 20s in because those weren't available when I was looking. But that'll be in there. We've been cruising. Tommy Fleetwood broke me a little bit last week, with the top 10, bogeyed 2 of his last holes. But we are having a good time betting these placements. I love this board. I love the top 10 market and a few of the top 5 guys there. So let's get after it this week. I'm loving the board.
All right, that's awesome. All right, let's move on. Let's get to the course for this week. Let's talk about Valhalla. The second major of the year is upon us as golfers head to Louisville, Kentucky for the PGA Championship from Valhalla Country Club. This will be the 4th time Valhalla has hosted the PGA Championship, with Rory winning in 2014 at minus 16, Tiger winning... I just wrote this wrong. Tiger winning in 2000, in the year 2000 at minus 18. And then, of course, Mark Brooks won here at minus 11. In 2000, I think in 1996. Now, I just lost my place. But so when you play this, there's been a couple of small changes since the last time the course has arrived. The first one, of course, is going to be a little bit of a length. It's 150 yards longer than it was in 2014. Now, I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference here. The club technology has been exponentially grown since the 2014 season, so I don't even think that extra length is really going to affect too much. Now, the one thing that a change that I think will affect a little bit is, of course, the Zoysia grass in the fairways that we talked about a little bit earlier. Some guys love playing in Zoysia. Some guys tend to have a little bit of trouble on Zoysia because they always think they can hit flyer lies because that ball sits up so crisply that sometimes they can get little flyer lies when it comes down to it on Zoysia. So I think those are going to be the 2 biggest differences when it comes down to since what we've seen in 2014. So, you know what? So the reason why I'm struggling here is because I accidentally copied and pasted part of a proposal that I had into my into my write-up. I'm like, why am I talking about drywall in the write-up? So give me 1 second. Let me catch up. All right. So when Rory won, the course was super wet and soft for Rory's win. We could possibly see the same thing this week. Last week, like I said, they had flood warnings all through Kentucky. Now they have the Zoysia grass, of course, hopefully will help with that since it can handle the rain just a little bit better than the old grass that they had. Now, I don't expect there to be massive rollouts, but, just a bit more than what we saw in 2014, where balls just basically flopped, of course. And then, so you add the soft conditions and the fact that, it's a little bit longer, but the length really doesn't really affect too much. I don't think it's going to play as difficult as we've seen in these previous iterations of the PGA Championship the last 5 or 6 years, where single digit under par has won. The reason I say this is because, there's 3 scoreable par 5s. Usually in these PGA Championships and US Opens, there's usually only 2. There's 3 here. There's also 2 holes under 400 yards. They're not drivable. One could be drivable if they use a funky tee. The other one's not, because it has an island green. So everyone's going to be laying up on that one. But those 5 holes, you're going to have to score on those holes and basically avoid mistakes on the other 13. And that's how you're going to be on top of the leaderboard when it comes down to it on Sunday. Take advantage of the par 5s, take advantage of the shorter par 4s, and hold on for dear life on the other 13. Now, weather, of course, is going to play an important part this week. The winds don't look horrible, as the highest gusts I see as of Monday morning when I wrote this are on Friday afternoon, but it's only projected to be around 17 miles per hour. Of course, all this can change. The issue is going to be the rain. It's supposed to rain cats and dogs on Tuesday with flooding potential and hail. Wednesday looks overcast with a 50% chance of rain as well. So it doesn't look like the course has a lot of time to dry out before the first round. Thursday actually looks pretty nice. But then, we have another 90% chance of rain on Friday. This should make the course wet and soft for at least the first 2 rounds. And the weekend, I thought looked a little drier, but when I recently looked again, it looks like it's going to rain on the weekend again too. So it looks like it's going to be soft conditions, which of course is going to make the course a little bit longer, which of course is going to favor more bombers. Now let's get to the meat of the course. A Jack Nicklaus designed Valhalla Country Club is a 7,600-yard par 71, 3 par 5s, 4 par 3s. The par 5s are long, but scoreable, as all are between 570 and 595 yards. The par 3s are tough, with 3 being between 209 and 255 yards, and the shortest one being 190 yards. There are 7 par 4s between 450 and 510 yards, 2 between 400 and 450 yards, and 2 between 350 and 400 yards. Scoring will need to come from the par 5s and the short par 4s, like I said. Off the tee, golfers are going to see average to above average with tree-lined fairways, with bunkers in the landing areas, and water on 7 holes. The rough will be a long, gnarly 4 inches. The tree line isn't that close to the edge of the fairway, so golfers will have to miss very wildly to hit it into the trees. Tee shots that just miss the fairway will not reach the tree line due to the rough being so high. The fairways themselves are Zoysia grass, which is a spongy type of grass, where the ball will sit up nicely for approach shots. Now, for some, again, they don't like Zoysia because they expect flyer lies, so we'll have to see. Now, hitting it in the fairway is important, but if you look at the trends from the previous iterations of this event and Valhalla, you see that bombers tend to litter the first page of the leaderboard. Now, I wouldn't say totally dismiss short hitters, but if you're going to play a shorter hitter, make sure they hit a lot of fairways, and make sure they're strong with their longer irons. Now, on approach shots, golfers are going to see some of the tiniest greens on tour this season. The greens average around 5,000 square feet in size. These bent grass greens have a bit of undulation, and they are trying to make them quick with a stick meter rating of around 13. Now, if they can get it that fast under these wet conditions, is something that won't be answered until we see the event start. Now, bunkers surround the greens, along with thickish rough. The course doesn't have the mowed down edges like we see at Augusta and what we'll likely see at Pinehurst outside of a few holes where there will be a runoff area in the front of the green. With the combo of a lot of long iron play and tiny greens, short game could be important this week, but short game tends to be easier on these type of courses with a little bit of thicker grass around the greens because, you can pop that up, get that club nice and underneath the club, pop it up. That's pretty easy for most pros, even if they struggle around the greens. Now, what a lot of guys struggle with is when they have to hit it on tight lies. When you see an Augusta, and stuff like that, where you see these tight lies where you have to judge the speed correctly, and stuff like that. And I think it's a lot harder to be able to control the speed of your ball when you're going low, right? And so I think that's why a lot of golfers who struggle around the green struggle in that aspect. Now, in this situation, the greens, they're going to have a little bit thicker rough around, so you can bring that sand wedge nice underneath, pop the ball up, control it really easy. That's pretty easy for most pros, even pros who struggle around the green. What are you looking for in golfers this week, Byron?
Yeah, Victor Hovland, Kenny, like when you're speaking about chopping it out the cabbage, that's what he does. So that's why he's typically thrived at these kind of cabbage patch.
He's so interesting this week too because of what he did on Sunday.
Yes.
Right. We'll talk about that more, but I'm confused about what I should do with him. But go on.
Yeah, I mean you covered it amazingly, Kenny. I mean about 2/3 of the shots are coming from 175 and out. Have to make sure you can, and that just adds to the distance, right? Because guys that are good from that range are usually guys that have tons of distance off the tee because they're hitting shorter irons with more loft, more spin into these greens from further away. That's just a simple mathematical problem,
Mathematical,
like baby.
Mathematical. I like that.
The only one that kind of dodges those mathematical situations is the magical unicorn himself, is like Cameron Smiths and the like, right? Those guys that have elite outs in the short game department that can get hot with the irons, that can scramble, you can find them in DFS. I think those are guys I'm going to be looking to target in DFS versus betting. I want to take my exposure and kind of lean into that over there because they're not going to be popular because they don't have distance off the tee. So,
well, here's the thing about here. Let me talk one thing. Interrupt you real quick about Cam Smith. And I know we're going to talk about this here later, but the thing about Cam is, I don't think this is going to be a single-digit type under par event, and I think that would be better for him getting it up and down because he's going to miss these greens. He's going to get them up and down for par. You're going to need some birdies here. I think the winning score is going to be -12 to -15, somewhere around there. I mean, and maybe even more because, of course, Rory won at -16, Tiger won at -18, and it's going to be soft conditions. If it was going to be like a grinding type deal, I would go with Cam more. I'm thinking Cam's a fade for him. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, Kenny. The pathway to success is that much more difficult. There's so much more rough involved with him. It's difficult to get there. That's why his ownership will be low if you are looking for that kind of stuff. So you pretty much covered it all. Make sure you dominate those par fives. Those short little flippy short par fours. You got to make sure you take care of those, and then I need major dominance, I need guys that have played well in majors in the past who I will be rostering again. For DFS, top 10s are going to be very important for me because that likely means you got a good chance of finishing inside the top 10 again if you have one of those in the past. So give me all the major experience, give me all the distance. Let's see what these guys can get up to.
All right, so let's get to these tiers. I'm going to start in this 10K and up range, and it's a very interesting range to me. I think there's a lot of playable people. I'm not the biggest fan of the 9K range. I'm not the biggest fan of the 8K range. So I'm going to be picking quite a few people up here. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each guy. Let's go over this real quick. Let's start off with Scotty Scheffler. Of course, the pros. He's been the best golfer in the world for the last couple of years. He's been winning. He's been amazing. The cons. He hasn't won outside of Southeast or Texas. Once we get out of the Bermuda, once we get out of that type of area, he's never won. Also, of course, he has the newborn. It hasn't been released, but I'm almost 100% sure it's already been born. And so he's been having to deal with being a new father. And he's all these new things. So that would be a con in my place. Now, Byron, do you play Scheffler this week?
Kenny, I've I can't figure him out. Every time I roster him, I can't get the other 5 guys right. Every time I don't roster him, he beats my ass. Like, that's just the Scotty Scheffler dilemma I'm in right now. At least we get the 5K range at 13.2. That's nice. I'll mention a guy down in the 5Ks later that I will be potentially pairing it up with Scotty. But just the con is the fact that Brooks Koepka is $2,400 cheaper than he is.
Yes, that's definitely
another con, so that is the tough, tricky part, because I can put so many better golfers in for that $2,400 price tag outside of, Brooksy, that it's just so difficult to go to him there at that price.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if his ownership is low, I got to play him, right? I'm going to play one of Scotty, Rory, Rahm. I'm going to play at least one of those. And, of course, Rory positives are going to be he's coming off 2 wins. He's won at this place before. Immaculate driver of golf ball. And his cons are the man hasn't won a major in 10 years. Now, is this one of his best opportunities? Probably yes. And a lot of people going to be on him. What do you think ownership-wise? He's got to be up there. I think he's going to be higher than Scotty, right?
I would imagine but if we go Brooks, Xander, John Rahms, Rory, and Scotty, it's going to be Xander will likely be one of the most high-owned guys, I think, because of his price at 10.9. Yeah. People just love him. He's safe and just reliable, and he's 10.9. He's not 12.5. That's the thing. It's so much cheaper to roster him. Then I'd say Rory with Brooksy. I'd say Brooks potentially could be also one of the highest guys, but then John Rahm will be the lowest owned guy. This is what I'm trying to get at.
That's the guy I know I'm going to play.
That's where I want to be going to.
Yes, I'm going to be playing John Rahm. Now, and here's the thing. Like, I was thinking about playing an Oberg until I saw the reports from earlier today. There's a guy on site who's tweeting and following Oberg, and he said that on the first tee, after his drive, he rubbed his knee 15 times walking to his ball in the fairway. That does not make me feel good about Oberg. I mean, the thing is, we might have thought that this was something about rest, right? But the thing is, I really didn't think that, just because, he's had 2 weeks off, and then he's withdrawing from a tournament where it's guaranteed money, right? To me, that felt like there's something probably really wrong with him. And it is his knee, and supposedly he is grabbing it. People are going to hear that, and he's going to be lower owned than expected, right? In the beginning, you would have expected him to be one of the 3 highest owned in this 10K range. Now, with this information, he could be one of the 3 lowest owned. Do you take the risk, Byron?
What's the magic number, Kenny? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Do we even catch single digits on this guy?
Yeah.
I think he would have been that high owned regardless.
If he's 5%, I'm playing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think even anything sub 10%, you just match the field, basically. I think that's the one way to get exposure. But more information, maybe we find he lands up withdrawing. Unfortunately, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But a knee injury for someone that's as lanky as he is, as powerful as he is, not ideal. That's the problem. Willie Z back situation, same situation. We saw how long it locked him out for.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what they get up to, but it's scary. It's a scary situation. So Rahm just not having won on Live, having sucked it up at the Masters. If you think about a factory golf course built for Rahm, it's this one. Long iron.
I feel the same way.
Dick rough. Let's go. This is what he does. I think he's embarrassed after what he showed.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. And also, I think he wasn't able to prepare like he normally did for the Masters because it was new to him, right?
Yes.
Now that he's been in Live for a little bit, he understands what he needs to do, what he needs to do to be ready for a major, which he wasn't for the Masters. I expect he will be for this one. And it's not like he's been playing like ass all year. He hasn't finished outside the top 10 in Live, right? Most of his finishes are top 5 in Live, right? So it's not like he's playing poorly. He just has a 1. We expect him to win at this point in time. If he's going to be the lowest owned in this 10K range, I'm going to play him. This is something, and it's a huge narrative, but I think you're right. He's embarrassed about how he performed. I expect him to come out feeling as prepared as he possibly can be. And I think he's going to have a good showing. And I do like John Rahm in GPPs a touch. And of course, Koepka is going to be my first cash game cornerstone Of course, we've talked about him already. We know what's up. He's going to be my first cash game cornerstone. Another interesting guy is Morikawa. When I first did my cash game cornerstones, I had him and Koepka. Because, of course, we can go down to the 5K range. We can sort of stack up here and get these fucking studs in your cash lineup. But the more I thought about it, because the thing is, last week his short game was excellent, and he hit almost every fairway, right? If he can hit every fairway, have great short game, he was one of the best putters in the field last week. It's going to come down to his iron game, and I wish it was better last week. It still was middle of the road. And, something is off on his irons. But whenever he gets to these big stages at a major, he just seems to come through, like no matter what. I am not sure if I am going to play him, but he is definitely someone I am thinking about just because of his prowess at majors. And he is, I think, one of the shorter hitters that can fare well at this event. Who are you playing in this range?
Collin Morikawa in 2023. Around the greens on PGA Tour, ranked 97th in this field. In majors, around the green, 26th. In 2023 putting, 98th on the PGA Tour in this field. In majors, 24th. When the short game shows up for Collin in these majors,
this short game was really good last week.
And now we have this short game showing up. The iron proximity from 200 and out has gone to shit. Like, it is not existence. It's like south of the 25th percentile on the PGA Tour this year. It's south of the 50th percentile the last 12 months. You're going to see so many long iron shots come from that range. But guess what? We saw all of that come from that range at Augusta. You see a lot of long irons at Augusta. Where did Collin finish? Inside, the top 10 again. Like, this guy will likely catch a little less ownership because the irons have gone a bit south, But in majors, he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. So we can expect that short game to kind of save him, if those irons kind of get rough. I'll be playing Brooks as well. That price is just...
Are you fading Rory and Scheffler like I am?
I think I'm going to have to fade one of them, Kenny. You have to roster somebody. I don't think I'll be rostering Xander because I need a guy that's going to win it for me. If I'm going to be paying in the 10 nines, 10 fives, I need someone that can win this thing. Colin's got two. He's not looked the most comfortable in contention, but he's at 10-2. He might be my second guy in maybe after Brooks. So that's how I'll be looking at it this week. I do like the nines a lot more than I think you do, Kenny. So
I don't like him that much. But what about Cantlay? People have said that this sort of mimics Muirfield Village, which he's won a couple of times. And he sort of tends to play well on these bent grass type long courses. He didn't really do that well last week, but he played well at the Heritage. Is this his time? Is this where he's going to be overlooked and we should be thinking about playing him?
He'll be overlooked, rightfully so. If you take a look at top 5 majors, he's got 18% top 5 major rate. That sounds like a lot. The rest of the guys above him, 47, 52, 35, 46, 67%. Like 2 out of 3 times they're finishing 5th or better.
Yeah.
Candy's only doing it like 1 in every 5, it's not good enough for me at this price. And the thing is, I said this with Pat on the show, is like the only thing going good for Candy right now is the fact that he's playing bad. The expectations are lower than ever because he's not playing well. And that's the only thing. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You decide. The ownership's going to be low, but rightfully so. So, scary stuff for him.
So I say I'm going to fade Rory and Scheffler, but that's not 100% true. I'm definitely going to play Ron. I'm definitely going to play Koepka. He's one of my cash game cornerstones. And then it's either going to be Morikawa or one of those two up top. It's just going to be depending on ownership, and it's going to be depending on how I can do my lineups. We'll have to see how that goes. But I'm definitely playing Koepka, cash game cornerstone. Definitely playing Ron. Those are my two guys that are going to be in this 10K range. Let's go to the 9K range. Why don't you tell me who you like? It seems like you love it.
Yeah, so obviously the Wyndham Clark, Bryson DeChambeau love is going to show up right away. It's going to be very popular along with Willie Z. I think those will be 3 guys I will definitely be looking to roster. Wyndham, not so much the thoroughbred major track record, but the other 2 have shown us they can do it. Cam Smith, like I said, I think I will be rostering him as my super low-owned guy in this range. He's always low-owned in these things. And guess what? At Oak Hill, he somehow managed to finish inside the top 10. That's just what Cam Smith does. He's a scrappy son of a bitch, and I love it. I love that about him. But Max Homa is going to be my secret dark horse in this range too. He's going to be the pivot off of JT and Neiman, who have done nothing in majors for the last little while. Max, historically bad. He's 132nd if I'm using historical strokes gain data from majors, since 2017. But what do we see from Max? T10 at the Open, third at Augusta. That's too palpable for me to ignore. I have to manually adjust him all the way up. I don't think he's got the skill set off the tee to win this tournament, but at $9,700, my second guy in, let's go. I think I can definitely get behind Max Homa now that he's playing good golf, especially people keep glomming onto he's a bad major player. We've got 2 back-to-back top 10s now, and Max is on the move.
We're very similar. Max is going to be my favorite GPP play in the 9K range. We spoke about why. I mean, again, it looks like he's ready. It looks like he's getting to the point where he can really contend at a major like he did at the Masters. And I could see that from him this week on this course. So he's my favorite GPP. Cash game cornerstone number 2 is going to be Bryson DeChambeau, 2 live guys who I like. Again, my motto for cash this week is going to be long dong golfers. They got to have the big Johnson. That's just the way it's going to be. That's how every single one of my golfers in my cash lineup, they are all top 30 in the world in driving distance. And I think that's going to be super important. And so I'm going to go ahead and have Bryson as my second cash game cornerstone. He's going to be able to hit it far. He's going to be able to. The thing about the reason why Bryson succeeds so well in courses where the fairways are missed and the rough is very high is because he'll be able to hit like his pitching wedge, or a wedge or a 9-iron, but he's using like a 6-iron length club, right? Which is just going to give him so much more power to cut through that grass. It's a huge advantage for him to have those type of clubs be extra long. His shorter irons be that long to cut through that grass a lot easier and a lot stronger. And so I do like Bryson a lot, and I like Wyndham Clark. Again, last week, I really didn't, I'm not really too worried about it. I think he can step up. This seems like it could be his type of course. Of course, his iron game has been, really above average, making a ton of birdies. Of course, he's long off the tee, so I'm a big fan of Wyndham Clark. But my third cash game cornerstone is going to be in the bottom here. It's going to be Cam Young. Again, I don't think he's going to get his first win at a PGA Championship, but a runner-up, a top 5, I could definitely see that. Again, another guy hits it long, great with his long irons. That's going to be a theme that I'm going with today with my cash game cornerstones. Anybody else in the 9K range, or we move on?
We can, if you're looking for a very severe pivot, Victor Hovland.
Okay, let's talk about Victor.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Victor. Because go ahead.
So Victor Hovland, same thing as Colin Morikawa. In majors, we've got a decent enough sample size now to figure this out. He's been a perennially bad chipper of the ball. We know this about Victor for his entire career. But in majors, Victor Hovland, 32nd in strokes gained, 29th in strokes gained around the green. He was 99th in 2023. So a massive jump around the greens. And then the putting obviously is 16th in majors. Like, what happens with these guys? They show up to these courses. They can be bad putters, but in major events, something about it, Kenny. I don't know if it's the thick grass or the fact that it's just a major. And these guys just have the ability to tap into a better skill set that they should do every time they're on the PGA Tour. But we can see him bounce back. And I think at low ownership, he's a dark horse that you would not be shocked if he's at the top of the leaderboard, but also, the safety there is missing in a big way right now.
Well, here's the thing. He looked good last week, gaining almost 5 strokes ball striking. He gained about 3.2 tee to green because he lost strokes around the green and putting. So here's the thing. It looked like his ball striking is coming back a little bit, right? And the thing, it really has never been awful. He still gained strokes with his approaches in 4 of his last 5 measurable events. So it's tempting. I don't know if I'm going to go there, but it's possible. And if you're looking for a pivot, he might be the guy. I actually had him winning this event early in the preseason, in December when we did, me and Tambo did our look ahead. And I didn't expect him to change coaches 27 times and suck ass. But hey, here we are. So it's tough. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull the trigger on him. And if I do, I'd probably have to get rid of Wyndham Clark Wyndham. I probably have to get rid of Wyndham Clark for him. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. It's possible it happens. But I think both of them shouldn't be that highly owned. So
No.
I think I'm going to pick one. We'll see how that goes. But let's move on to this 8K range. Again, not the biggest fan. I got two guys that I think I'm looking at in the top range, and that's going to be Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki Matsuyama. Hideki, when you play long, hard courses with thick rough, he's one of the best out there. I'm not too worried about his injuries. Like he says he's injured. I don't think he's going to miss. I don't think he's going to miss this event. You could, and you're going to have low ownership because people are going to be, wary of clicking that button for him after he screwed everybody this past week. So you could get him at reduced ownership, and I think he fits perfect for this course. I think Fleetwood's just been playing well. He's coming in with a couple of good finishes. He should have finished in the top 10 last week. I know he finished third. He finished in the top 10 at the RBC. So he's coming in with decent form. That he's played well at majors in the past. So I do like Fleetwood. And then if we're going to go down a little bit, Sahith, we've already spoke about it. I'll let you talk about him. I like Patrick Reed. If you look at the top 10 strokes gained tee to green at majors in the last, 5 years, 5 to 7 years, he's inside the top 10. And so another guy who just sort of steps it up when it comes to majors. He could play like ass, but for some reason, when it comes to majors, he sort of steps his game up. And I like Patrick Reed, and it would be amazing if he wins this event. Just because people hate it so much. I don't think he will, but I think he's going to play well. So I do like Reed. Who do you like in the 8K range?
Patrick Reed with 63% top 20 rate in majors, since 2017. So he's got that pedigree. Unfortunately, the top 5 rate goes all the way down to 13, So the upside with Reed, not quite there, but at 8K, that top 20 rate in a major is exactly what you're looking for. Sahith, he's becoming a very good long iron player. His driver has transformed into a weapon now. It was a bugaboo. I was always comparing Sahith to Cam Smith because he can scramble, he can putt, he can chip. He's a good iron player every now and then. The driver's all over the place. No longer the comp. He's an all-round exceptional golfer. We know that about Sahith. I also do want to mention Shane Lowry as we're getting out of here. Shane Lowry in majors, putting, he putts well in them for some reason. He's been putting like complete ass the last little while. So we'll see what
you're going to get him super low ownership. And again, he's coming in like Rory with a faux win, right? And you want to enjoy. Did he play last week? I don't even know.
I don't know because I think he's been getting sponsors exemptions into all of these events. I think he was way down at the bottom of the leaderboard early. I think I saw Shane like +5 early.
Yeah,
so I definitely think
47. He finished 47. I don't know if
majors,
on board.
He's a major winner. He can play good golf. I also want to mention, Kenny, your Butterfish boy, Jordan Spieth. Just before you know it, everything's going fine, and the next thing we just got shit leaking everywhere, and that's Jordan Spieth for you, right? Like it's just too
Jordan
much Butterfish.
Spieth is the Butterfish player. Yes. Butterfish Jordan Spieth. He's a Butterfish player. I like that. All right, let's get to the 7K range. I like a lot of these guys in the upper 7K. I'm going to be playing Jason Day. I'm going to be playing Sung J M. I'm going to be playing Siwoo Kim. But the guys that really catch my eye is going to be Benny On. He's in my cash lineup, not one of my cash game cornerstones, but he's in my cash lineup for this week. Another guy who bombs it off the tee, one of the longest players out there, who plays well with his long irons. He's a really, really strong form coming in. I really do like Benny. I like Giuseppe Straka at 7,500. Another guy who plays exceptionally well in difficult situations, who seems to man up when he's playing against the big dogs. And at that price, it seems like a very, very good deal. Give me a little bit of Straka at 7,500. Corey Connors, another guy I do like. When it comes to long courses, thick rough, he's top 5 in the field in strokes gained tee to green. Now, it hasn't really correlated to U.S. Opens and PGA Championships, but at some point it's going to. He's not my favorite, okay? My favorite's going to be the two I spoke about, but I'm definitely going to play a little bit of Corey Connors in this upper 7K range. Who do you like in the upper 7K?
In the upper sevens, I have to second Benny on with you there, Kenny. I mean, this guy has just Korean sensationed his way to now back-to-back top fives in his last two starts, and that was Bunny Ranch and that was Quail. I mean, those are two totally different venues, long golf courses, but different type of nature. So love what Benny On's been up to. Minwoo Lee at these big bomber paradise, gouged out the rough, scramble your way to -10. That's all I need Minwoo Lee to do. I'm cool with that. This guy's got immense distance off the tee. Love him a lot. A sneaky little guy that no one's going to be playing because he's been playing like a little bit of crap lately is Tom Kim. And I know it's because this guy's got no distance off the tee, blah, 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 all of that. He's just got this major thing in these majors. He's found it. I mean, watching that Netflix doc is probably doing this a bit more to me, but that ankle, to finish second at the Open Championship with an ankle that he could barely walk on once it was unwrapped, like, that's awesome. This guy's a major guy, and he's doesn't fit the course profile whatsoever. Short, yucky, he'll be low owned, and he's got a major pedigree like nobody else. I mean, this guy's been firing in the majors the last little while. So love him. Bottom of the sevens, Dean Burmester, Steven Yeager. Two thoroughbred ball striking guys, tons of distance. Long dong bourgeons, long dong Yeager. Yeah, I guess whatever. We'll figure it out. But the boys have got the long dongs down there in the sevens, and that's where I'm going to be going. So love those two in particular with Yeager's elite play out the rough.
One guy that I did miss that I think I'm going to play that everyone hates is Taylor Gooch. $7,600. It's put up or shut up time for him, right?
Yeah.
Like, he needs to perform. If he doesn't perform in here, everything he says is just be laughed at. And, he doesn't want to do that. And I think he has the skill to play well. The guy's won a bunch on LIV. He's going to be extremely motivated. He's either going to blow the fuck up or he's going to be in contention.
Yes.
I think miscut or top 20 is basically what I'm seeing from Taylor Gooch. And at $7,600, whatever, GPPs, that's fine. If you can get a top 20, top 10 from him, because the guy has skill, the guy can win. We know that. Is he a fucking dick? Is he stupid? Does he talk out of his mouth, or talk out of his neck? Does he say stupid shit? Yes, all the fucking time. Does everybody hate him? Yes, everyone hates him. But that should keep his ownership down. And I think he has a chance to do well. So I'm going to play a little Taylor Gooch, and I like your Yeager. I like the Yeager call, and I like the who was the other guy that you were talking about? Yeager and who else?
Yeager and Burmester.
Burmester can hit along. I like Noren again at 7,200. Mm-hmm. Another guy who plays well on long, difficult courses with thick rough. It's just something that he does well throughout his career. He's really good from 400 to 450 to 500 yard par fours. He also avoids bogeys very well. He's top 5 in bogey avoidance in this field in the last 24 rounds. So I can get behind a little bit of Noren as well. And I'll be playing Bhatia as well, also, like I talked about.
Yes.
He's won on this course before. It should bring good feelings. He won a month ago. That should bring good feelings. So hopefully he can do something this week because I do like him. All right, let's go to the 6K range. I'll go ahead with my final cash game cornerstone. It's going to go all the way down to the bottom of the 6K range. It's Taylor Pendrith, right? He's really, really impressed me the last 2 weeks. Of course, I had him 75-1 at TPC Craig Ranch, and then he backs that up with a top 10, top 15 at Wells Fargo with an elevated field in super difficult conditions. Again, the one similarity between those two courses is a lot of long iron play. And so when it comes, he's been doing pretty well on that. Now, when you just look at his stats from overall, they're about average when it comes to it. But he's been doing better in these last couple of events. I'm going to ride that heater when it comes down to him. And of course, going down this low, it can afford me Cam Young, Bryson DeChambeau, and Koepka up top, and Ben On, right? And then another guy I like who may or may not be in my cash lineup, Keith Mitchell at $6,800, who's made his last 3 cuts on majors. Not the best major record, but he's made his last 3 cuts at majors. He's made 3 in a row at the PGA Championship. His last major appearance was last year at the U.S. Open, and that was his best major finish in his career. He finished 20th. So he's coming off, the last time he played a major was his best finish. So again, another guy who could just nuke the ball out there. Again, that's basically what I'm going for my cornerstones and my cash lineup this week. So I really do like Keith Mitchell at $6,600.
Kenny.
Yes, go ahead.
Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks, Scotty, all in the field. Who's gained the most strokes off the tee in PGA Championships and US Opens?
I'm guessing Keith Mitchell. Yeah, he just sucks.
Why would you not play the guy? Yeah. But I mean, the most important part, get it out the way. That's going to save you. That's safe, in my opinion.
Yep. So my cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be Brooks Koepka at $10,800, Bryson DeChambeau at $9,600, Cam Young at $9,000, Taylor Pendrith at $6,000. This leaves you like 14,600, which is plenty of money. Yeah. You could go down to the 5 and go back up to the 9s if you wanted, right? You could go that route. Now, for me, I have 6K and a 7K, both high, and that's how I'm going with mine, with my last 2. So those are my cash game cornerstones. Other guys I do like in this 6K range, it has a fair amount of good golfers. I mean, like Aaron Rai, he's going to be a stat guy, ranked number 10 in my model. He's going to be hitting a lot of fairways. That's going to be good for him. And of course, he is inside the top 20 in both proximity from 175 to 200 and 200 plus. I'm a huge fan of Aaron Rai this week at 6,700. Kurt Kitayama hasn't missed a cut. I can't remember the last time he missed a cut. It's been a long-ass time for Kitayama. Of course, another bomber who could hit it out there. He's at $6,500. Billy Horschel, a little memorial comp, who's been playing a lot better golf. I could see him being a very low-owned, high upside type guy, maybe a top 10, top 20 in this field, because he's done it before at a course similar in Muirfield Village, super long. You know what I'm saying? And against the big dogs, he won't shy away. Taylor Moore, a guy who hasn't missed a cut in forever. Again, I thought about him in cash, but I decided I had Morikawa and Moore in the beginning, but I decided to switch to Bryson and Mitchell. And so there's plenty of guys in the 6K range to play. Who do you like?
I prefer that pivot, Kenny, in general, because I just feel like the upside's a bit better there, along with the safety from the other 2 guys that you're getting. Grayson Murray finished T10 at Wells Fargo. I played him instead of Minwoo Lee at Bay Hill. I've been playing Grayson as my punt play at these courses with thick rough, emphasis on driving distance and scrambling. Grayson Murray's very good off the tee distance-wise, and he's very good at scrambling.
Well, how much is it?
$5,300.
Oh, we're going to the 5K now, yeah. I like Grayson.
Oh, sorry. Did I just dived right in? Like, I like him that much. That's the guy I'm in the mood for. A lighter version of him is Sami Valimaki at $5,300 as well. Think about it. Long dong, finished guy. He was right in the mix at Mexico, which is another long-ass golf course, right? So if we can see these guys taking care of business at $5,300, then you've got some love at the top there. So I'm in the mood for him. Tristan Lawrence, another South African guy that's shown up in these random majors here and there, $5,500. So I'll toss out a Toasty as well. Toasty's got so much distance off the tee, and he's a scrambler guy. What did he get up to at the Houston? That's a very similar kind of a golf course. Lots of distance needed, long irons, tricky drivers. Give me Toasty $5,500. I know it's his first few big boy events, but he's been playing good. I love this 5K range, especially with these guys that have been playing quite nicely. You can be reliable on these kind of venues that they played a lot of in the signature events.
Definitely some great plays. I mean, David Puig is a guy who's probably not going to be 3-4% owned, who has immense skill, who has won a couple of times in various different tours, this season. You have Mackenzie Hughes, who loves tough courses, who was in contention early during the week, last week at Wells Fargo. Mm-hmm. You have Van Rooyen, who is the best from 175 to 200 in this field in the last 24 rounds. That's another Eckroat, another guy who's just excellent at approaches, coming off a really strong major finish in his last time out. I forget which one it was, but he did have a pretty strong finish in his last major. Luke List, a guy who can hit the ball a mile, who's been in contention at Honda, another long course that's tough with thick rough. Rio Hisatune, a guy who didn't make it 1% owned, finished 13th in the CJ Cup. Really good around the greens. Hits a lot of fairways. Very good from 175 to 200, and very good around the greens. Like I said, he's another guy who no one will own him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys down here that you can play. I like the Grayson Murray call. I might even think about Vincent Norman, a winner across the pond down here at 5,300. I mean, you have choices, and that's why I don't think it's impossible to roster Scotty and still be able to come out with a good lineup.
Amen, baby. Amen. There's lots of options down there.
All right, anything else before we move on? I guess we'll finish with one and done.
Let's finish with one and done. I don't have too much all. We got the PGA behind us. It's going to be fun, Kenny. I'm nervous. I feel like we've got something brewing.
Still in first place in the Slider Cup, which is the league I play with one international and one USA player each week. This week it's going to be Koepka and Ron. We're going to live, baby. We're going to live. In the Mayo, I had Homa last week who finished top 10, but I dropped 400 spots because a lot of people had Rory. And so I'm like 500 in 500th place. I think I'm just going to go Koepka there too.
That makes sense. I would go Koepka. I think I've burnt him already. I would go Rahm instead, just because I haven't used him yet. If you're looking for a one and done token that's going to go off, I know I had Xander last week. Obviously missed out on a decent chunk of change. I bet at Scotty at the Genesis, and then he went and won 4 of his next 5. So I bet Xander last week. Let that be known. I bet Rory at the RBC Heritage. Then he went and won the Zurich and Quail. So this is my last little while. I've been on the one and done train. So my official pick from last week was Xander. This week it will be John Rahm.
All right, that sounds good. Why don't you tell them where they can find you there, Byron?
All right, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in to the Fantasy Golf Degenerates show. You can find me at The Model Maniac on X. Find my stuff at Back9Bets on YouTube, and then rotoballer.com. That's where all my written stuff and shows and stuff will be going on. I'll have my show with Keith Stewart on tonight at 9:30 with Spencer for the Rotoballer PGA show. So that'll be a lot of fun chatting to him from the grounds.
All right, it sounds good. Make sure to go join Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Mayo. Get yourself a deposit match up to $250. And of course, we have our Underdog segment here. I post the Underdog stuff on my X feed. You could find me on X at KendoVT, and you could find my article on gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on a sub to Gups Corner. Gups Corner is great. It has a green machine, these awesome tools that you can use. The subscription actually includes every single sport. They're crushing in basketball. I know Gup has just been destroying the NBA here recently. Also, we have you'll have my final betting card there. And then at every signature event and every major, we do a Wednesday night last minute pod to get everything situated. The E9 pod on Gups Corner just for members. So if you want to see me again, more than once a week, all these signature events, go make sure you sign up to gupscorner.com. All right. It should be a fun week. The course is amazing. It should be awesome. Make sure you don't eat more than 4 to 6 ounces of fucking butterfish. Let's win some motherfucking money. DJ Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up with the words. I done popped the molly and I think it's be my third.